I'm so glad you could join me. I've really enjoyed teaching at CEC Summer Camp this year. It's my first experience. But how about you? How have you found it?
I've really enjoyed it. It's not my first summer camp that I've done, but it is the first summer camp that I have completed with CEC. And you know, being here, it's just beautiful outside, and the kids are great, and they're very enthusiastic, and they've had so much fun, which I really enjoy watching.
I think that's the same for me. I've really enjoyed watching the children, the students interact. In terms of your student age, I'm teaching quite a wide age range. I'm teaching 9 to 14-year-olds. How about you?
I'm teaching kindergarteners, so they lose interest quite quickly, so trying to keep their attention's sometimes a little bit challenging, but no, they've been great. They're all really friendly, and they've all really got on with everything with so much effort, and I'm really grateful that I had them.
I love their spontaneity. I love the way that they just decide to do something and then they do it.
Yeah, they are very creative, I'll give them that.
So, Andrew, thanks very much also for joining me. I think you've got younger students than mine, is that right?
Yes, so my class is a little bit younger, and I quite enjoy the younger age. I think that it's a little bit easier to get involved with a lot of games, and they don't really question you too much about like why the game's shifting or why they're doing certain things. As long as they're active, they really enjoy it.
So in terms of the activities that you have been doing with your children, you find that they're much more happy when they're doing something very active, is that right?
Absolutely. I think we have quite a wide range of students. You have very academic students, and then you have some very active students. So finding the mix between the two is quite how can I say, like it's enjoyable to try and get that mix working with themselves and then also with the teacher.
Yes, I enjoy watching the difference between my 8 and 9-year-olds and my 14-year-olds, how by the time they're 14 they've become quite strategic in their thinking. That's quite interesting. So, Lewis, what about you? You're teaching at one of the other centres, so I didn't know you before I came here. What's it been like for you at summer camp?
Yeah, so I've been teaching SS4, and it's quite an interesting class because you have really young ones starting at about 8 years old, and you have older ones from 12 years old. So you have like a really mixed range. But the good thing about having the older ones is that you can kind of start to link their work and what they're doing, not just about English, but also with more external things. So with the cooking, that was really good, and even making them think more about like the local community. So one task that we did was the trash picking in the local area, and it was nice that they could like link their work to problems like affecting them in like their like neighbourhood and like the city.
I found that having a wider age range meant that they did show different skills, but they also bonded incredibly well, and the older ones were very good with the younger ones. I'm sure you found that too.
Yeah, definitely, and as Andrew was saying as well, it's nice they're starting to get to that age where you can see like certain like skills and what they start to enjoy really come out, especially because it's not just all in-book exercises. That you might have a kid who really likes drawing and can bring that to the table, a kid that's really good at public speaking and can do that. So they're at that age now where they're starting to realise what they're good at.
I found it yes, a very challenging but a very rewarding experience myself. What about you, Gary? Thanks also for coming and joining me on this little talk show. What about your students? Have you enjoyed teaching them?
Oh, I love teaching mine. I had Summer Smart 2, and it also a very wide range. And as mentioned, I like watching my older students become caretakers of the younger ones. I suddenly saw them like attached to certain groups, and they would make sure the little ones are always safe, having fun and enjoying themselves. Like, especially in the cooking week, we had a lot of fun, and my students absolutely adored being able to make the money and then have the actual food fair and simply buying what they wanted for lunch. I think that was one of the highlights for them of the entire camp, just being able to spend their money. So when the money was used right, the motivation was very good in class. They became very competitive, and the students absolutely loved the cooking week specifically, but most of the science lessons were also really great. And the outings were good as well. We did yoga and the ice rink, and many students, myself, well, I also never skated in my life, but many students left loving skating, and I picked it up as a hobby as well.
So you've got something new out of summer camp for your future.
Oh yeah, no, I'm importing skates from Saigon right now.
What about anybody else? Is there anything that anyone else has picked up from summer camp that they may continue into the future?
I think, just with some of the activities, I think it's quite easy to adapt those and take on some of the skills that I've learned through teaching a brand new class where students don't know each other, and taking that to my new class and maybe encouraging my older students to be more welcoming to new students that join the class. So I found that that's something that I would continue and try and encourage my students to do more of.
I've also found that some of the students at the beginning would tell me that they couldn't do something. They were absolutely positive that that was it. They weren't going to do something. But when they were encouraged and they were given the skills set to do it, they were given something which they could then work with. They turned out some pretty good work, and I was always really amazed at then how confident they became. Is that the same for you, Holly?
Yeah, I think, especially with the younger students, you always get very pleasantly surprised when they, set themselves up for the challenge. Because sometimes they're not as enthusiastic, so you have to incentivize them with stickers or food or snacks. But they did everything to the best of their ability, and they created really creative pieces of work, and they were very patient with each other. They really enjoyed the environmental lessons, and they liked to see how pollution, for example, has a very negative impact on their lifestyle, and they can see it being expressed in different ways. And the whole dynamic of the classroom as well, it changes when it affects you personally. So that's why I think that they liked the environmental lessons.
Yes, I found that at the beginning they weren't very interested or concerned about the environment, but then when you talked about the consequences for them, not just for the world, but for them personally, they became very interested. I expect you all found that. And then finally, before we wrap up, is there anything that you think that we can all learn from summer camp, from our students? I mean, I look at some of them and I am absolutely amazed how they will take on challenges, and I think perhaps learning a new language is such a great thing to do. I might take up something myself. It's supposed to be very good as you get into your more senior years.
Yeah, I think it's very important to always keep learning and always striving to achieve. But you can always see personal growth from beginning to end, and I think that's really rewarding, and always challenge yourself, and that's what I will be inspired to do.
For me personally, I think what a lot of students did is they built bonds with teachers that weren't teaching them directly. So for example, I spent a lot of time with some students that I wasn't teaching, and it felt really great that they felt so comfortable around me, and I hope that I get to make other students feel as comfortable and allow them to feel like they can approach any one of the CEC teachers and be welcomed. So I think that's something that I'd like to move forward.
Well, that sounds really good. What about you?
Yeah, so usually with the weekly lessons, it's like sometimes you wonder so much of the development. They are developing, but I think when you're teaching kids day after day and everything, you can really see their progression, and that's really nice to see. And just the motivation and the enthusiasm that you see from some kids and stuff. I think we're all very lucky that English is our mother tongue. And when we were growing up, having to tell us that we were learning another language twice a week and everything, that would have been quite a shock. So it's really motivated me, especially being Vietnam, to try work on my own skills and see what I can improve as well.
For me, so again with the older and younger students, I noticed when something was wrong. I think an amazing thing, especially for younger students, is the compassion, because I think we lose that as we get older and we start looking away and we turn the other way. But if a younger child gets hurt, it doesn't matter if it's their friend or not, the entire class gets concerned, they try and cheer her up, they try and help her. And that always just helps remind me to use it in my own life and just look at people and try and not look away as much and try and help where I can if I see a problem.
Well, thanks all of you. I think you've all had a wonderful time. I certainly have, and I hope that it just continues to grow into the future. Thank you very much.